Trust that you'll handle what comes when it comes. Trust that most people aren't trying to hurt you. Trust that the universe isn't personally orchestrating your downfall. And trust that seeking help is strength, not weakness. This week on Adjusting, we're talking about another cognitive distortion, catastrophizing. You know, when you've text someone and they haven't text you back and you automatically assume that you're going to die along with all the houseplants that you've already killed. Or when you're on a date and the date is very quiet and you think, I am the worst person on earth. But my personal favorite is when you're in therapy and your therapist says, well, let's unpack that. And you automatically assume that you are beyond repair. Yeah, your mind is writing horror movies in your brain, equipped with a dramatic soundtrack and an apocalyptic ending. But today, we are going to change the genre. We're going to change the channel. I'm your host, Justin G. Nelson, and by the end of this episode, we're going to tell your nervous system that maybe it's not a tiger in the bush. Sometimes it's just wind. Welcome to Adjusting. And we're back with another episode of Adjusting with your host, Justin G. Nelson. All right, so I hope you enjoyed last week's episode. I hope you did some homework. I hope you sat with it and caught yourself if you slipped into a space of all or nothing thinking with the negative thinking. I hope you embrace the gray because today it's going to get dark. All right, today we are talking about catastrophizing. It's basically your brain creating a horror story. You're welcome. So, before we get too far, thank you for joining us. If you're new here, hi. Thank you for choosing you in this season of your life. I don't know when you're listening to this, but I am glad that you're listening to it. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that we can grow our adjusting community. So welcome back, and let's get grounded. All right. If you're driving, focus on the road. This podcast can wait. You can pause it. You can pause it. If you are home or in the office or at work or somewhere where you can give yourself a few seconds and a few deep breaths to ground yourself so that we can do this work together, I invite you to do that today. So plant your feet on the ground, relax your toes, relax your shins, relax your knees and your thighs, relax your hips, relax your stomach, relax your chest, your shoulders, relax your neck, relax your chin, your cheeks, your nose, your eyebrows, your forehead. Close your eyes, and we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and release for 8. Let's begin. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let it all out. Let it all out. Ah. Great. This next breath is just going to be a deep breath in and a deep breath out. You ready? Go. Breathe in and out. Great. Now let's talk about this horror story. Okay. So we're diving into catastrophizing. And baby, let me tell you, okay, if your brain has ever taken a simple, they haven't texted me back and turned it into a, I'm going to die alone, surrounded by houseplants and moths, you've experienced this cognitive distortion of catastrophizing. Now, I don't want to make it, like too dramatic. But what is catastrophizing? I'm glad you asked so that we can paint the picture. I don't want you to say, well, Justin, this sounds a lot like the last episode about all or nothing thinking. They all have to do with your brain. Okay, all or nothing thinking has two sides. It's a bright side and a dark side with the gray in the middle. Black or white thinking. Catastrophizing? Oh, baby, it's just the worst case scenario. Yeah, it's just doomsday on repeat. Maybe they did. Maybe that kind of dramatic tension with it. But catastrophizing is a cognitive distortion where you assume the worst possible outcome of a situation, blowing minor instances and inconveniences and issues out of proportion, and treating unlikely disasters as inevitable, leading to heightened, really high levels of anxiety and depression and distress. That is your word for the week. Catastrophizing. So examples of this, and I have a long outline, but I'm gonna make it short. But if you head over to Substack, you can get some more detailed information. So examples of catastrophizing. It's when your brain takes the express elevator from minor inconvenience to total life ruination. Like when you stumble out of words or you stumble over words in a meeting and you're subtly convinced everyone thinks you're incompetent. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm gonna lose my job. They're gonna fire me. I messed up the data. I said 1 million. It should have been 1 billion. I'm stupid. Your brain skips all the floors from it's fine, it's cool, it's okay to I'm fired. Cognitive distortion, where you predict the worst absolute possible outcome and believe it's the only outcome. Not just this might go bad, but this will go bad. And here's 47 points as to why it goes bad. Your mind becoming that friend who always has to one up every story, but with a disaster. Well, I got hit by a bike. Well, I got hit by a bus. Okay, calm down. It's not that serious. But that's what your brain does when it's catastrophizing. So I think you get the point. So here are some other common examples, like your boss wants to talk, you think you're going to lose your job, or your partner seems quiet, they're planning to break up with me. I've experienced that. I was right though. Slight headache, I have a brain tumor. Friend doesn't respond immediately, they hate me, they're talking about me, there is another group chat happening about me. One mistake at work, my career is over. Me. I was in an audition. I cracked. I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna make it to Broadway. I still got a call back. But I was catastrophizing in that moment. I thought they thought I was bad, but we'll get to the healing part of it in a minute. To people who are new to therapy, I wanted to make sure I included this section for people who are new to the mental health space. You've heard all these buzzwords, you've been on TikTok, you've seen all these things, but you slowly want to take your mental health serious. I applaud you. So if you're new to therapy, we'll say this. People say I need therapy. They automatically assume you're beyond repair. I will be in therapy forever. This is people who are catastrophizing, not really having a grasp on the art of healing with therapy. Or if I'm crying in therapy and you're dealing with this cognitive distortion of catastrophizing, you automatically assume your therapist thinks you're weak and you're too emotional. Baby, listen, I told my friend this. It was somebody I was talking to. I think it was Jordan, my church member Jordan. And was it Jordan? It was someone, I don't know. But they said that people, yes, it was Jordan. We were talking about this on New Year's Eve. And he was just like, people cry so much. You're just like, what? Why are you crying so much? I was like, I wish I could cry. I'm like, I can't even push it out, but it's fine. Or forgetting what to say in a session. You're in therapy and you forget what to say. And you automatically think, I'm wasting everyone's time and money. Sometimes you need to sit in the silence Okay? Let your thoughts do things, but just don't say it. Just have a moment. Or your therapist. Therapists love to say, let's explore that. And you're just like, what? Now you think I'm crazy. Now you think I'm real. Mm-mm. I didn't mean that, but we can explore it. Or considering medication. Oh, I'm gonna be a dependent forever. I'm gonna need this for the rest of my life. Mm-mm, mm-mm. You won't. You won't. And here are a few ones for my creatives. Low engagement on a post. We talked about this last week with all or nothing thinking, but this one with catastrophizing. Low engagement on a post. My work is irrelevant and I should delete everything. Shut up. No, you don't. You have a creative block for one day. I've lost it forever and will never create anything again. You're dramatic. You're being dramatic. Calm down. Someone doesn't like your work. I'm a fraud and I should burn all my books, my microphones, my cords, and everything. It is not that crucial. But for some people, it is. Comparison on social media. Everyone else is successful and I'm just playing pretend. People who are dating, because again, I'm trying to get out there. I'm trying to find my forever. Tear. They take 2 hours to text back. They're definitely texting someone else. They're not interested. Awkward pause on the first date. This is the worst date they've ever been on. I should go back home. They mention their ex. They're still in love with them. They're still, maybe they're trying to get their money. Okay, maybe their ex owes them some money. Plans get rescheduled. Oh, they're losing interest. They're not interested. Whatever. Let's jump to adjusting, okay, to this distortion. So how does it show up? How does this cognitive distortion of catastrophizing show up? Physical symptoms. We're getting technical here, okay? Physical symptoms. Tightness in the chest. Your stomach drops. You suddenly you're sweating like you're in a sauna. Your body goes into full flight or fight or fawn or freeze mode. Cognitive behavioral therapy, that CBT. That's when all of that kicks into overdrive. Your nervous system is a mess. It's a hot mess. The spiral speed run, going from zero to existential crisis in 20 seconds. That's a world record right there. Okay. The mental rehearsals of conversations that will literally never happen. I'm guilty of this one. You've practiced your resignation speech for 47 minutes, getting ready to go in there. I'm going to give it to them. Or you've drafted 7 versions of a 2 weeks notice. I have 2. You've already planned your comeback with criticism. You're ready. You're ready. Calm down. Rest a little bit. You're creating detailed contingency plans for imaginary disasters. That fun thing where you're grieving losses that haven't actually occurred yet. These are all the ways it shows up. And this is what it does to our brain, though. I talked about this last season in a book. Not in The Body Keeps the Score, but that is a thing. The Body Keeps the Score. Um, but the book Break the Cycle is back there. It's the green book back there. Our ancestors who assumed the rustling was a tiger survived. But we have so much unresolved generational trauma that a lot of us shift to catastrophizing because of our DNA. I know this is a very deep topic. I'm not licensed yet, but I think I've read enough and done enough research to back that up. Your amygdala, and this is something I learned about in therapy, your big amygdala doesn't know the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a read receipt. Your amygdala is that emotional gray area, not the gray area between black and white when it comes to the all or nothing thinking, but it's an emotional gray area. Cave person brain in a digital world equals chaos. Okay. Your nervous system is still operating on everything might eat us survival mode. Your brain thinks it's protecting you by preparing for danger, like an overprotective parent again, okay? That helmet situation, you got a forehead helmet and a backhead helmet, okay? Past trauma taught your nervous system to stay ready for threats. Trauma is a silent killer, I swear. And then there's this element of control illusion. If I imagine it all, I can't be surprised or hurt. Your brain thinks worrying equals preparing equals controlling. That sounds exhausting, right? Like I'm pretty sure I will be exhausted. But spoiler alert, it doesn't work, but your brain hasn't gotten the memo. So sometimes it's literally just your brain is bored and needs a project. Read a book. Read a book. Listen to Adjusting Podcast with your host, Justin G. Nelson. Give your brain something else to work on. And again, for people starting therapy, you are like, what the hell is an amygdala? What are you talking about? Your nervous system? I only know about the immune system. Okay, fine. Recognize that seeking help requires vulnerability, and catastrophizing is your brain trying to protect you from that exposure. Walking into therapy is like emotional skydiving, and your brain is freaking the out. It's like I know I should be here, but I don't know. I don't know. The stigma you've internalized is making everything feel bigger and scarier than it is. Your brain doesn't know what normal progress looks like in therapy. It's going to be muddy. Okay. You might think you should be fixed after 3 sessions. Baby, you still opening up after 3 sessions, sometimes after 3 months. And you're like, I didn't realize I was gonna be this open. Open up. Trust me, be vulnerable in therapy. And remember, your therapist has heard it all and then some. Okay, no surprises. For my creatives, recognize that creative work requires vulnerability, and catastrophizing is your brain's way of trying to protect that soft autistic project. Every piece you share is like handing someone a piece of your soul and saying, please be gentle. Please. Your brain knows this and is trying to bubble wrap your heart. Your imagination is a superpower, and that sometimes works against you. The same brain that creates the beautiful worlds also creates disaster scenarios in 4K. Rejection sensitivity. And someone on TikTok is doing this, and that's why I wanted to throw that in this episode. They're trying to find 100 ways to get rejected this year to kind of redirect or rewire their nervous system. I think it's interesting. I haven't tapped too much into it, but rejection sensitivity is higher because your work feels like an extension of your soul. The comparison trap feeds catastrophizing because you're only seeing everyone else's highlight reel. You don't see the skeletons, you don't see the drafts, you don't see the number of journals have gone through. You don't see any of that. You see the polished Final Cut Pro exported video. Okay, that's what you see. Remember, even Beyonce has fallen down steps. Please don't cancel me, but she did. She fell in that red. I think it was like, ring the alarm back. Michelle fell. Okay. The mighty have fallen. But you can get up. Proud of you. And for my single people who are looking for the love of their life, dating requires a risk, and your brain hates uncertainty. So, past relationship trauma has your nervous system on high alert. Your brain is like, remember what happened last time? Let's not do that again. Okay. You're not paranoid. You're pattern matching based off painful data. You're literally trying to predict another human's behavior. That's impossible, by the way. Modern dating culture has us all traumatized. It's not just you. It's not. Ghosting, breadcrumbing, love bombing. The dating world is a minefield, and you never know what you're going to step in, okay? Your catastrophizing makes sense when the dating apps are actually designed for chaos. Everyone else is also 3 bad dates away from adopting cats and calling it a life. Again, I'm allergic to cats, so I'm going to get an iguana or fish. Your brain is trying to protect your heart by assuming the worst first. So, how do we apply this? Like, how do we work with this catastrophizing? Okay, great. I'm glad you asked. So, applying methods. Here are 5 ways to shift your mind for your future self. So, and I love this. Shift number 1, shift from what if to what is. This is grounding in present reality. Your future self needs you to stop time traveling to disasters that don't exist. Every minute you spent in imaginary futures is a minute stolen from the present reality you're living now. Your future self wants those hours back that you spent worrying about things that never happened. So start training your brain to notice what's actually happening right now. What if they hate me becomes what is true right now. They smiled at me. They gave me a compliment. They told me they loved my book collection. What if I fail becomes what is true right now. I haven't even started yet. Creative. This is a gift to your future self because you're building new neural pathways, okay? The neuroplasticity, you're rewiring the things that default to reality instead of fiction. Future you will have memories of living, not just worrying. You're teaching your nervous system that the present is pretty and it's safe and it's comfortable and I can exist here. So, creatives, if no one buys my art, becomes what is true. I'm creating something I love. I am building enough to just roll out and say, here, the right people will find it. And if you're dating, what if they ghost me? Becomes what is true. I might have a nice conversation in this moment. I might learn something more about me. I might learn something more about them. I might gain a friend from this. Okay? They may be able to see something in me that I didn't see that helps me to go, you know what? I am worthy of love. I am worthy of dating again. So, like living the what is. Mm. Shift number 2 from fortune telling to curiosity. Oh, embracing unknown outcomes. So, if your brain thinks it's psychic, it's just anxious with a vivid imagination. Your future self wants you to stop pretending you know how stories end. hmm Plot twists exist, okay? I had a plot twist last week. And most of them are boring or fine, not catastrophic. Real predictions with genuine curiosity about what might unfold. This will definitely end badly becomes I wonder how this would turn out. They're going to leave me because I'm curious to see how this relationship evolves. Therapy will be horrible becomes I wonder what I'll discover about myself. Your future self will thank you. You'll be present for surprises. I hate surprises, but I'm learning to adjust to those. You're not exhausting yourself preparing for scenarios that won't happen. You're allowing space for life to be different than your worst fears. So practice saying, repeat after me, I don't know what will happen, and that's okay. My God. Number 3, shift from catastrophe to capability. Trusting your resilience. Instead of imagining disasters, imagine yourself handling whatever comes. Your future self has survived everything your past self has worried about. You're still here after every worst case scenario your brain predicted. Build a relationship with your capable self, not your catastrophizing self. I couldn't handle rejection becomes I have handled rejection before and I can handle it again. And this oh Jesus, okay, this speaks to me. Um Last year when I was in my audition era and I auditioned for a show twice on Broadway. And I made it to the final callback both times, but the first time I allowed I allowed rejection to put me in like a dark place. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on making money and being secure in my finances, and then I'll worry about that later. And the more I worked at that show, the more I was just like, I really miss this. I really miss performing, and so I had to, shift to this. I can handle rejection. I handled it before. I can handle it again. So I'm back at auditions. Yay! Clap for me, clap for me. Creating a resilience inventory for your future self. List times you thought you couldn't survive something, but you did. Remember, you have 100% survival rate of your worst days. Your future self is evidence that you're stronger than your catastrophizing brain thinks. Number 4, from worst case to whole spectrum, allow multiple possibilities. I'll keep this short because this is a little deep. But again, it'll be on Substack. Your brain is showing you one channel, disaster network, when there are infinite channels available. So you got Hulu, you got Peacock, Netflix, HBO, all them channels. But your brain wants to just work on disaster network. More possibilities. Your future self wants access to the full range of possibilities, not just the horror movies. Okay, it's just like me. I had to expand my reading genres from romance to everything, historical fiction, thriller, self help, all those things. Okay, my brain needed more than just the smut. It's enjoyable though. Life is rarely the tragedy your brain predicts or a fairy tale. It's usually somewhere in between. Okay, there's a happy ending, but what happened before to make the ending happy? Life. Practice holding space for multiple outcomes without attaching to any. Practice holding space for multiple outcomes instead of attaching to any. You hear me? Practice holding space for multiple. Write this down. Practice holding space for multiple outcomes instead of attaching to any. Great. The yes and practice. Yes, they might reject my work and they might love it and they might feel neutral. Multiple outcomes. Yes, this date might be awkward and it might be amazing and it might be perfectly fine. Yes, therapy might be uncomfortable and it might be transformative and it might be gradual. Okay? It's baby steps. Like that. And the last shift that we are embracing in this catastrophizing shift of it all is from protection to peace. Choosing trust over defense. You're catastrophizing an exhausting armor that your future self has to carry. Every single disaster you imagine is a brick wall between you and peace. Your future self wants to live openly, not behind fortifications against imaginary threats, not behind dysfunction, not behind trauma. Okay? Start choosing trust in yourself, in your life's unfolding, in your dreams, in your purpose over consistent defense. Trust that you'll handle what comes when it comes. Trust that most people aren't trying to hurt you. Trust that the universe isn't personally orchestrating your downfall. And trust that seeking help is strength, not weakness. I sound like a preacher today, but I'm not. Peace practices for your future self. When catastrophizing start, I choose peace over this story. Okay, I choose peace over this story. Daily reminder, I don't need to suffer. I wrote this a while back. I don't need to suffer twice. Okay? I don't need to suffer in my imagination. And once when it happens, once is enough. Okay, I'm sorry. And mantra, put your hand on your heart. Both of them. I release my future self from carrying today's fears. One more time. I release my future self from carrying today's fears. Wow. So here's the summary, okay? Because that was a lot. There was a lot. I'll put book recommendations on Substack. Your catastrophizing brain thinks it's being helpful. Like that friend who texts you, be careful every time you leave the house, even if it's to take the trash out, okay? We're not trying to eliminate this completely because sometimes caution is good, okay? Sometimes listen to your gut. It's just like, I don't know about this one, okay? You on them hookup apps, I don't know if you should go. I've seen it in the movies, but we're adjusting the volume down from 11 to like a 3 or a 4, okay? Your homework is to catch yourself in one catastrophizing spiral and practice the what is shift or from protection to peace. And for my therapy beginners, I'm proud of you. Okay, I am proud of you for showing up in this space and saying, I am ready to adjust. I am ready to rid myself of anything that is holding me back from my future self being strong, being creative, being loved, being seen. Okay, great. So until next time, keep adjusting, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you take something away to help you make the adjustments you need. Before you go, please take a quick second to share this with someone you care about. And if you can, please leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. For more information about adjusting or to inquire about being a guest, head over to adjustingpod.com. Until next time.